Hey everybody, this is Yuri. In the video I'm about to show you is a rather old video, but not much has really changed. I'm going to show you exactly how I do this filtering thing. Now, generally speaking, I do it a little bit differently than how I show you now, but you'll get the gist of it. And this is this general concept of how I use filters to identify what's performing and not performing in the creatives or basically any variable that I'm testing inside of the ads platform. This is again a fairly old video from an old client. However, this general concept is still what I use. A lot of the times, I'm not really using the Facebook pixel as a truth in data because after iOS 14, all the data kind of got mixed up and it's really hard to track. However, it's still still very relevant. And nowadays, I do a lot more trends and identify long-term actual visual representations instead of flat data sets. And I go over that in full in the entirety of my course. But for the sake of example, and in this video, you'll see everything you'll see everything that I'm trying to share with you on how I use these filters. So without further ado, check it out. Look at this performance on UGC Box 1. We're looking at 34 consistent sales at a total value of $19 in acquisition. That's pretty off of a spend of 659. So these are going to be migrated into the scaling campaign. I'm going to give them a little bit more time, let them work it out, and if they're going to consistently perform, they're going to go into the scale campaign with additional budget. So I'm just going to migrate them over, turn them off here, put them in the other campaign, and then we'll continue running them. And hopefully they'll get traffic. I'll keep an eye on them, but they should. They seem to be performing fairly well here, so there's no reason they won't perform in the other one. July box is also working. It's at a $14 acquisition cost. Now let's look at it from an aggregate standpoint. I'll just type in 07, and we're looking at an aggregate of $24 in acquisition. Now, it's only off of 6 sales and $145 spent, so fairly low, not very stable yet. I'd give it some more time, but things are looking good there. We're pretty good acquisition costs. And then we're looking at, let's see, those are the real two significant ones that I saw. There's also the spread on bed one. I really like this image. I thought it was really a great layout. And it's performing okay. We got 3 sales at $19 in acquisition with $59 spent. So we're looking. It looks promising here too. Lower volume because there's a cookie monster here eating up all of our traffic just because it's performing so well. Facebook's giving preferential treatment to that UGC box 1 image. So good. This is all good stuff in here. Very exciting. I'm very excited to see how it scales. All right. I hope you understood what the general concept is. Keep in mind, the volume in this account was super low. $600 to test a creative. The acquisition cost was about $20. Are we getting enough data? Kind of. Like realistically, I'm trying to spend a couple $1,000 per creative before I make any sort of real decisions on performance. So it's really not a whole lot of data that I'm working with, but the general concept of aggregating your creative performance across multiple audiences gives us a sort of cleaner data set. That way we really know if the creative is moving the needle or is it the audience. Really, I don't care if the audience moves the needle. There could be a good audience here and there, but as we're scaling, we're going to go into a broad audience anyway. So it doesn't really matter to me so much to go into a specific audience because I'm going to run out of that audience eventually anyway. So really my goal here is to establish which creative is moving the needle, what variables inside of that creative is moving the needle. Is it the color? Is it the border? Is it the headline, the video headline? What is it about the creative, the primary text, the actual headline within the actual ad? What is it within that creative that's actually causing the direct association to that conversion event? So we're looking at a sort of correlation, maybe even a causal relationship that, yeah, red borders, every single time we use a red border, they have a lower cost per acquisition or cost per lead than anything else, right? Or than the control test. So in general, I'm not really looking at audiences. And when you see me using those filters, I'm flattening that data set across all the audiences to see the average performance. That way I can determine, is this ad a keeper or is it not a keeper? If I just look at the performance in a vacuum inside of an ad set with a specific audience with a creative, is that going to give me any sort of definitive answers on whether or not there's good performance on that creative? Not really. It works in that vacuum, but is it going to work outside of that vacuum?
No. And does it matter if it works in that vacuum if I'm trying to make to squeeze more juice out of that lemon? Not really. Really, it's all about scaling for me. So if I can't really scale that creative more than what it currently is, then it doesn't really perform any other audience. Yeah, I'll leave it on. But if I add more budget to it, it'll burn out because I'll run out of audience. So really, I'm looking for those creatives that scale. Are they going to be, off of a 50,000, let's say we bump it up even 10,000 to 50,000, even $100,000 a day? Is it actually going to maintain that good performance? Of course, the cost per acquisition will drop a little bit, maybe even a lot at a higher volume. But is it actually going to move the needle? That's what I'm looking for. So in that video, I just showed you how I use the filters in general.